what's the glue that brings those people together?
Wanting to work together.
Work together on what?
Publication.
Publication of what?
Of alternative life.
Yeah, which is about health, isn't it?
It's about living, not living with a condition that makes living uncomfortable, and taking pharmaceuticals to try and prolong the process, or ease the pain or the discomfort, which
in my mind is all part of healthy living. Just because you're living with something doesn't mean that you can't live healthily.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if that is the glue, the honey which attracts the bees to want to work together, then the communities of practice is, well, this is what we're actually going to do. We're going to have a community of practice which might be around, living healthily with second cancer, or whatever. I mean, that space better than I do. I don't even know how to pose the question, but so a community of practice is how these, not all of them, but some of these people are going to come together under your leadership, presumably, and are going to either publicize or provide education or provide a forum or whatever it is. And I guess that's the question I'm asking, is what is the community of practice? So what are they actually going to do? And how many of these communities do you want? What are you thinking about? Because the other thing I would say to you as an observation is one community is going to be a lot of work. It's going to be like children. One child is a lot of work. 2 children triples the amount of work. 3 children, it exponentially gets more and more involved. So I'm just trying to get to the question I'm posing is, so what are these communities of practice? How are you going to form them up? How are they going to operate?
I don't think the word community of practices, it implies something that is not part of the concept. It could have something in your own mind and your experience as a thing, but I'm looking at, let's drop the word community, and I'm looking for a team of people that will do all the work, whatever we come up with.
But what is that work?
But you asked me that at the beginning, okay?
Yeah.
It's
crocheting jumpers.
It's forming a public. It's producing a publication, ebooks, videos on alternative life.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess in a way it's a publishing company. I don't know if you Googled what the definition is of publishing company, but it's certainly going to help people who are living uncomfortably either because they're taking pharmaceutical drugs every day, or because they've been diagnosed with something that is life-threatening, and they need to maybe live their last days in more comfort than they are currently.
So will these people be like thought leaders in the field, or what? How will they? I'm just trying to get a handle on what they'll actually be doing.
What, the team? Yeah, I guess I haven't given extreme thought to it, but there would be a team of specialists in publication. So one might be a graphic designer.
Yeah. So I guess what I was just trying to get at was
another one, a researcher.
I think the idea that you've articulated, the way I've interpreted your mind map anyway, I think it's brilliant. I really do. But the piece that was missing for me was within this space that you've, in my words, that you've defined here, this what I term as a community of interest, around, everything that you've outlined in this mind map. So the community of interest here is about, alternative life. So I'm trying to get out of that what it is you're actually going to do. What's the business, what's the enterprise actually going to do? And you've talked about now about how it will publish and communicate information and articles and presumably support materials and all of those sorts of things. But will you focus that down into a number of streams, like, physical aspects like Parkinson's or motor neuron diseases?
I've indicated that in the article. If you read the one page I sent you last night, okay, that I hopefully actually answers that. Okay.
Okay.
Because I also felt that I needed to, for my own edification, I just needed to sort of tell somebody this is the essence, okay, rather than the detail that's coming up in a business plan. Mr. Average.
Yeah. So if you apply a lot of the traditional sort of stuff, if I was to sort of say to you, tell me in a dozen words or less what you're going to do. If you sort of said to me, one of the things we're going to do is engage with people about how to live joyfully with cancer. I said, okay, I really get that. No, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of where I was coming from.
Yeah. It's the business, the compact business one line is, we offer alternative health.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully that's
so if you use the language that we've been talking about in the last few months, so the alternative is to consumerism health. That's the alternative, isn't it? That's
the alternative to what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, it is, because one's talking about, maybe the best thing is meditation. Okay. For a particular group, because they need to relax, or somebody's got excess ketones in their blood, and that is really dangerous. And but those are getting too specific. They need to be people that collect together in one sort of grouping, and
because for me, like, and I'm a sample of one, and probably a weird one at that. But like if I saw like a little video or an article, like an ebook or whatever, that said, how to live joyfully with cancer, I think, I've got to read that. I've got to read that because I've got cancer and I'm really depressed and I'm feeling miserable and I'm frightened and I'm all of these things. So that sounds really appealing to me. So I'm going to go and find out more about that.
You're not really living with cancer, are you?
Or not that I'm aware of.
Well, that's what you got to be is aware of.
I am. I'm living with the cancer of consumerism.
Okay. That's really it. You see, I think different groupings will take a different slant, and that's why you need a team that will brainstorm these things, brainstorm the approach, research the market.
But don't be frightened to lead it, because you are a thought leader. So don't be frightened to lead it, because for me, what the key thing that I see that you're offering here, which is different from everyone else that I see out there, is you're not offering a cure. You're not offering a miracle cure. You're not offering, here's something to buy, a pill or a product or a pair of shoes or
sure.
A magnetic bracelet or anything. You're not doing any of that sort of stuff. But what you are saying to people, and this is our language, your and my language, is you're saying spiritual connection will give you a joyfulness or a happiness or a contentment notwithstanding what you're enduring at the moment.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to talk about. And this is what we're going to provide support about. And this is what we're going to provide a forum about. And this is what we're, does it mean that you're not going to have shitty days? Absolutely, you're going to have shitty days. But you'll enjoy those shitty days with a joyful mindset rather than, here I am about to die in fear and terror.
No, I'm following you. The one thing that that I'm still confused a little bit in my mind, and really the confusion came up when I wrote that article yesterday, and that was, I gave the example of multiple sclerosis, MS, and then I started doing some of my trusted channels on research, and I discovered, which I often do with my research over decades now, and that is that the medical profession across every board says it's an incurable disease. Okay. And when I started doing my research yesterday, I could see absolutely it's not an incurable disease. Okay. It's it's a nerve order disease, and it's one thing that, just to give you an example, the myelin, which is the cover on the nerve, okay, is slowly eaten away, okay, and that causes, amongst other diseases, but multiple sclerosis, okay, and that then, because that affects the message going from the brain to the rest of the body. Now, when you look at the myelin, the immune system, even when it's in quite an advanced state, derogative state, it is curable. Okay, to repair, the immune system can repair that. Okay, you've just got to give it the right nutrients. Okay, that have been missing to result in that. Okay, and it will start repairing itself. Now, I don't want to say in these publications that it's going to cure, we found a cure or something like that. I want to say it can dramatically improve your living conditions, because it will be replacing the things that have been eaten away around your nerve. Okay. Knowing my nature, I'll probably slip in there, possibly it'll cure you. Okay, but that's not the purpose. The purpose is, hey guys, start eating this and this, or maybe do this in order to facilitate a more comfortable. Now, in that article that I sent you, I found there are a lot of people, in fact, but I think I used 3. As a result of your input, okay, you said, "What is it like to live with it?" What, and so I googled that, and I found people that are living with it, and how they're feeling, and what are they doing, and how serious is it with them, and so on, and all 3 of them were very different. The one caught it at 20. Okay, the others much older, and they're quite sad stories, especially the last one. I'm only talking about a short paragraph that I wrote, and it's sad when a mum of a 10-year-old can't take her child to gymnastics and watch the child, but the child has to phone 911 every time mom falls over. Okay. So the roles are reversed, okay, and it's sad to read that, and it's even sadder when that their medical practitioner doesn't know that there are these other ways between you and me to cure MS, because there's lots of evidence now, alternative where people have been cured. You can interview them, or other people have interviewed them. So they are living with this because they've always believed in the doctor. So alternative life is just, offering try this for comfort. Okay, see if your MS improves and write to us and let us know how it goes. Here's our platform where we're going to be putting things about MS or about nervous disorders and so on, and how you're coping will probably help other people, and that would be great. And we will put on the latest science that has discovered what historically was hidden because science hadn't discovered it yet, and things like that. So that to me is of great benefit. Now that can actually, whether you've got Alzheimer's or you've got MS, or any type of dementia for that matter, okay, it all starts around the nerves. So the advice that would be given by Alternative Life would be the same for all that category of that started with nervous disorders or afterwards are affecting their living, but via the nervous disorder. So that's what I'm getting at. That sort of grouping where there are solutions for that grouping, and people can read and think, tried that. That's not really my thing. But this is an interesting fact. The science of last year tells us that the immune system can now recoat those nerves, the myelin. Now that's like, wow. Okay, so our job would always be on the forefront of watching where people have now proof. And I suppose anecdotal comments as well would be appropriate. Anyway, I'm rambling on, and but I see this as, I don't know. You need to also offer a comment. I see this if we ever went ahead with it, as a Phoenix Rising project. Okay, and I said that in the article. So I think I must get the articles a week in advance to our conversation.
All right. Yeah. So if I was to put into my words what I've just perceived you to say, is that your body has created this dis-ease, whether it be multiple sclerosis or dementia or whatever medical label you want to put on it. Your body created it, and your body equally has the ability to create a solution to that dis-ease so that you can live in ease. And the way that I'd characterize it is that the energy that created this body is the manufacturer, so that if my car is made in the Mercedes-Benz factory and it's not working so well, where would be the best place to take it back to get it working so well? Back to the manufacturer. So the manufacturer has the ability to create a life of ease, just as it has created the dis-ease. And so the practice which comes around that is not about a consumerism response. It's about a holistic response to say, how do you connect with the essence of who you are, and if you follow certain practices which are quite unrelated to your specific medical condition, it will probably go to things like mindfulness and meditation and healthy diet and a range of other aspects. If you focus on these elements, just like speaking like as a gardener, if you want fruit and flowers, you don't focus on fruit and flowers, you focus on soil and water and sunshine and getting the right combinations of those together, and pruning and awareness of the weather and all of that sort of thing. And the outcome of that is fruit and flowers. So that's how I would describe it. So the alternative life is about, true connection with the essence of who we are to deal with whatever that condition is. Because if the body made it, then the body can also, I don't want to use the word cure, the body can also change that.
Yeah, you're right.
Because you could also argue that the aging process is also a disease.
Yes, oh, absolutely. You know, that's one of the categories is the aging process and longevity. Longevity. That's also a category that, and yeah, everything you've said is spot on, but it's part of the thing. It's part of it because one doesn't want to be specifically spiritual, okay?
Why not?
Because
we're spiritual beings.
Yeah, you are. So yeah, no, I want to also offer practical advice. You see, often, you know, if you're going to offer spiritual advice, then I think that's a whole different ballgame.
Isn't spirituality practical?
No, it's not. Okay. It's well, I suppose it is. All right. Yeah. It just really depends on.
See, that's part of the conditioning, isn't it? In some ways, is that we want to put all of these things into boxes, don't we?
Yeah,
I would argue that healthy living is spirituality is an important part of being healthy.
Yeah.
I'd strongly argue that, actually. However an individual interprets spirituality, you know, because there are many, many paths that will take you to the top of that mountain.
You've been quite philosophical today, eh?
Am I? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Do you think that this business is something, you know, we started the process and you, with your upcycling, in order to get sort of stuff down so that we could use it with Phoenix Rising. But do you think that your project and this one could actually be part of Phoenix Rising?
For sure. Why wouldn't they be? Can't see any reason why not.
Yeah. You know,
because a big part of what I see in the adaptive reuse model, even though it talks about little stuff to start with, it really is about the shifting sands. It really is about getting people to look at how they live on this planet in a different way, you know. And you know, and as we've talked about 1,000 times, you know, we've been so conditioned all of our life, in fact, conditioned into this consumerism and corporatism and all those other isms that we've got to make a transformational change. And it's through what these, you know, adaptive enterprises can do is, you know, set some real fires there to get people to challenge some of these assumptions, you know.
Right.
Challenge the assumptions, you know, lift their gaze, lift their head out of the me and my syndrome and look at, you know, that instead of my world being this little bubble around me, you know, this little bubble which extends, you know, like 2 meters off the ground and around me, to one that embraces the whole of the freaking universe, you know.
Yeah.
You know, because we're part of the universe. Just a lot of people don't know it. In fact, I'd say the majority of people don't know it.
And they don't care.
Well, I don't think that the caring bit comes into it because they don't know. They don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
You know, like we're so imprisoned in this body and within these 5 senses that very, very few people on this planet are prepared to explore transcending the limitations of physicality and exploring other dimensions of this life. Very few people.
Mm.
And that's where the solutions are to things like motor neurone disease and Parkinson's disease and multiple sclerosis and so on. The solutions aren't within the 5 dimensions, within the dimensions of physicality. The spark to the solution to those diseases comes from other dimensions, and they're the dimensions that I think that we're encouraging people to explore.
You'd have to give me an example of how it would work practically. How taking, a dementia or Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, what would need to happen? You want the guy to pray his heart out or meditate his heart out, or?
No, but you've got to start thinking in a different way than what has led to the disease. The disease doesn't just happen, like as a game of chance. It doesn't happen, oh, I've got multiple sclerosis, oh, poor me, I was really unlucky. Well, no, like there was something that sparked this, but there is a solution to it, because if the body created it, the body can also create a healthy environment as well.
Yeah, but not the spirit. You were talking about spirit creating the solution.
Well, it kind of does, because that's the dimensions outside of the physical realm tend to be of the spiritual realm, don't they?
I'm not sure if somebody that has any of those diseases, the nervous diseases, the nerve diseases, can get their mind into some sort of spiritual exercise or spiritual thinking. A lot of them fast losing their ability to think.
But also remember that I am not this body, and I'm also not this mind.
So just let me die, and then I'll carry on the other side.
No, not at all. You're talking like a doctor. Sorry, Michael, you're gonna die. Go home and get your affairs in order.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking that somebody associated with these groupings has a connection with spirit, okay, and gets inspiration and intuition, and then shares that information with those particular people who perhaps can't do it themselves.
So where and how are you going to find these people?
Sorry?
Where are you going to find these people? How are you going to find them?
Well, it's you and I. I just don't believe at this stage, and I'm the one that's got to believe, that is the direct route to take.
Oh, no, well, I'm not saying that it is the direct route, but I'm just trying to get from you what you think it is.
Okay.
And that's what I mean by community of practice. So what's the practice going to be? What is it? Like, to give you an example, like with the adaptive reuse, the practice is a combination of leading by example, by starting fires and with conversations and video and ebooks in terms of support information, and starting themed groups, like recycling or adaptive reuse of, say, broken musical instruments. And I've started a narrative around that. Well, why musical instruments? Well, music drives everyone's life, so create that atmosphere around you, and there'll be stories that you will relate to, relating to a particular musical instrument. And if you have that in your presence, it'll be a constant reminder of like so. There's a whole narrative around all of those things. So that's the community of practice. So the community of practice might be making something beautiful out of something that's been discarded. You can even scale it up to the, reusing buildings, like they do in England in particular, like where they turn a horse stable into a residence, or turn a disused church into a home, or so there's all of those sorts of examples that you can get away from this mindset of, okay, well, that building is no longer useful, let's just knock it down and put up a high-rise apartment block or something.
Yeah.
Well, that's not healthy living. That's consumerism and property development gone mad. It's all about money. That's all that's about. It's not about living healthy. Where's the beautiful architecture, like from the Roman Empire and from the 19th century Europe? Where's all that architecture? Why are we building little boxes now? Like, why aren't we surrounding ourselves with the technology and know-how that we have with the most beautiful environment in the history of humanity? Why aren't we doing that? We're not. We're just building little brick prisons to live in. Why? Oh, because some fucking developer wants to make more money out of it that way. Consumerism. I think I've had my rant. So, I think you're on the right track. I really do. I think that's a really important initiative that you've started there. And I would encourage you strongly to keep on pursuing it. But pursue it from what Spirit's guiding you to do, not from your experience in the last 40 years or 50 years or whatever.
Yeah. I thought last night, or yesterday when I was writing that article, that I would like just for our own, actually, maybe write a short ebook on one of those. I guess the nervous disorders. That was the article was about, and then sort of just build onto that, and see what inspiration comes for the format, and not doing anything with it other than sharing it between us, and seeing how that evolves, because I'm a firm believer on let's actually do rather than theorize all the time. So that would be a good thing to do. And
well, I'll provide you with the challenge.
Yeah.
Write a short ebook about what you perceive living healthy.
Okay. Then I challenge you to take some recyclable goods and make them beautiful.
Well, I am.
What are you doing?
I've got some musical instruments in there that I'm working on. Yeah, I have.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. All right. Well, send me pictures from time to time.
Yep. So I've converted an old, like a cymbal stand from a drum set.
Yeah.
I've converted that into a floor lamp. So I'll send you some photos of that.
Yes,
I've got a French horn there sitting there on the lounge room floor at the moment that I'm pondering what to do with. Again, I'm thinking maybe a table lamp or something like that.
Yeah.
I've got an old drum set there that I'm going to turn into the large bass drum I'm going to turn into a coffee table, and the smaller drums I'm going to turn them into side tables with maybe lamps inside them, built inside them. So there's a bit of a musical theme there. I'm looking at building a guitar stand, a really beautiful guitar stand that could either double as a floor lamp. I like lamps because I think that sort of accent lighting, and again, it's an Australian thing. We don't use lamps much in homes. We just have ceiling lights and fluorescent lights and things like that.
That's true. And now you mention it, I actually found one on the road, and I reconditioned it, and it's sitting here at my desk here. Yeah, right next to me.
Yeah, especially in living areas, I think we should have used a lot more lamps.
I agree. Yeah, yeah.
You know, so because it creates an atmosphere, and it's all about the atmosphere that we live in. That's for me. That's if you create a pleasant atmosphere, that pleasance just exudes out of you, and all of the right, you know, I don't know what the words are, but the right sort of receptors are firing, producing the right sort of drugs inside of us, and
yeah. It's an energy.
makes us feel very energetic. Whereas if you
Yeah,
walked into a stark brick room with bright white lighting and a concrete floor, well, how's it going to make you feel? You know, so.
yeah. Like going to
But
prison.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's where I'm coming from. You know, so.
That's great. Yeah, hell, and I totally agree with you.
Mm,
I think lamps, even when they're not on, are things.
they are,
Um,
and there's no reason that we can't more consciously surround ourselves with beautiful things. Even a garden,
mm,
even if you're living in a very small place, there's no reason you can't just get a few pots or a little window trough and grow vegetables or microgreens or whatever.
yeah, yeah,
And not only does that create beauty, but it creates a wonderful atmosphere. And if you consume some of those things, even if the plants have had a terrible upbringing where they've been threatened all their life,
right.
it still provides healthy outcome, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely,
Mm.
definitely.
I'd rather grow plants in a loving environment rather than being threatened to have their heads cut off if they're not performing. But
Different ways to show love. Uh, uh, uh.
so it
I
sounds like
think you
sounds like
see
we're
on
on the
that.
right track.
Yeah, you see on that image map, one of the first things is actually a library. Okay.
Mhm.
Um,
Resource library. Yeah.
and I think we really need to have some sort of facility where your pictures, are stored there, and general information about whatever alternative health that comes up, can be there in different categories or
Well,
something.
how do you think someone would react? Like someone says, "Okay, I saw this thing about alternative life. I'm interested. I've got multiple sclerosis. It's at this stage. How do you think that they would respond to? Okay, well, tell me about your living environment. You know, is it a beautiful environment? So what have you got there, and how do you interact with it? And I mean, how do you think they would react to that? What do you want to know about that for? I want a cure.
Yeah,
I want a cure for my disease. Well, absolutely.
yeah, 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 yeah. Interesting question. I mean, until we interview some people, we won't actually know.
Mm.
Um, and the ones that were interviewed that I've mentioned in my article, um, they seem to be pretty open with how they're feeling and what they're going through. And,
See, I've also heard, like with multiple sclerosis, apparently one of the wonderful treatments for it is horse riding, apparently.
yeah,
So it's a combination of the movement. And I would also argue about the interaction with the animals and the fresh air and all of those things. I think would have a role to play in a lot of that, I would have thought. But
yeah. So would walking barefoot on your lawn.
Mm.
Okay?
Mm.
You get the 528 frequency of the earth.
Mm.
And so you're connecting again with that basic frequency.
Mm.
Now that I could sort of go along with than the frequency that comes from nowhere in another dimension. Whereas this is practical. You go and meditate on your lawn in the sun, barefoot.
Mm.
Okay?
Mm.
All of which I do. Okay.
The other morning, just as a little side story, the other morning we were walking. We always walk at sunrise.
Yeah.
And there was this young guy sitting there just on the waterfront there beside the walking path that we walk most mornings. And he was there in the lotus position, just meditating, facing the rising sun.
Right.
And it was quite amazing because as we were approaching, Like there was all these birds flying around him, and like the whole micro environment around him was just delightful. There was this real delightful energy as and just walked past him, and it was just wonderful. Like the dog started wagging a tail madly as we were walking past. I thought, well, there you go. Look at that. Look at the energy. Look at the energy there. So.
The love energy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was connected to the whole of the universe right there.
Yeah.
They're the sort of things I think we can play a significant role in opening people's eyes to some of these things and being a little bit more mindful about these things, because in my mind, doing those things that maybe you and I in some respects take for granted, but those sorts of things I think will slowly turn some of these conditions around in a more positive direction. And even if they die in the meantime, I think they will die in a much happier place than one of, racked by fear or anguish or suffering, so.
Yeah.
Too many people talk about even disease in terms of a fight or a battle. My battle with cancer, or my, those sort of things. Is it a battle? I don't know. Don't think it is actually, but.
Yeah. It's true. It's words that everybody uses.
Oh, I've just been diagnosed with cancer. The fight begins. Is it a fight?
Yeah. And that's what advice people give you. Fight it.
What happens if I lose that fight? Oh, well, you die.
Yeah.
What happens if I win that fight? Oh, well, you're fine. You've got another chance.
You get a second one.
That's right.
Yeah. How to avoid getting a second one. Yeah.
And it's true, because how many times do you see people, oh, it's gone into remission. Okay, well, I can go back and start drinking 12 bottles of beer a day and eating McDonald's every second day. And why would you want to do that? Oh, because I won. Won what? Won what?
Yeah, I think it can also be far more subtle than that. That they do go back to the old habits, but they might say, well, I'm going to eat healthy and not eat the McDonald's and not drink. But there are the other subtle things, like attitude towards their fellow beings. Okay, and the way they criticize people. I think those things are more damaging to your whole being, including your physical body, perhaps than eating a McDonald's. I think that that is such a powerful place there. Those sort of psychological approaches to things.
Because you could even pose the question. I mean, I think about a lot of these things a lot over the years, but like this idea of, okay, I'm going to fight this disease or this battle that I'm going to fight. Why can't you even just even if I'm, feeling healthy at the moment, why can't you just think of it in the context of, okay, today, it's 7:24 in the evening today. Now tomorrow, what can I do better tomorrow than I've done today? But how many people do that? It's just, work, eat, sleep, repeat.
But isn't that part of the job of Phoenix Rising, is to make people aware?
It is, absolutely is. That's right.
So I think we must start talking about making people aware, and
You know, someone said to me the other day, "Oh, don't you get sick of watching the same sunrise?" I said, "No." In fact, it's funny you say that because in my 60 odd years of living, I've never seen the same sunrise twice. Every single sunrise is unique and different.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
People say, "Oh, when things get back to normal." I don't think there is no going back.
Yeah. When things get forward to normal.
Well, and that's the exciting possibility because the new normal is in our hands to create.
Yeah.